Hello ladies and gents, boys and girls, my name is Jack. Welcome back to the bike channel and welcome back to the garage. Thank you to all of you who subscribed within the last week. I really appreciate it. Well, what are we up to this week? Last week we looked at the Thruxton TFC up close and personal. This week we're going to be looking at the Kawasaki Ninja H2 up close and personal as well. So sit back, relax, and I'll be right with you after this. And there we have it, everybody, the 2019 Kawasaki Ninja H2 Carbon. Carbon is not just a reference to the carbon fibre front fairing, but it is a slightly more limited version of the normal Ninja H2, if you can call the Ninja H2 normal. Only 100 carbon editions are created every single year, with one exception. In 2017 they made 120. But every single year since, it's been 100. The 2017 version had something very nice, which was a plaque here where this Supercharger plaque is, and it stated which number of the 120 your specific bike was. But they've dropped that ever since and kept it to just the addition of the carbon fibre front fairing, which makes it a little bit different from the rest. Apart from in 2019 they changed the paint scheme, but more about that in a minute. I do want to talk a little bit more about the carbon fibre fairing up here. So a common misconception is that this fairing here is the front fairing from the Ninja H2R, when in fact it isn't. It is pretty much the same, with the difference of one thing. The intakes here, which you don't really see unless you take a proper look, but on the right hand side we have an actual air intake. So there you go, it's just got this mesh in there. And on the left hand side this is blocked off. Now the reason is because on the Ninja H2, the normal road going Ninja H2 that is, one intake is enough to get all the air that it needs to aid combustion, which is a massive amount of air, by the way. 100 litres of air per second, which is absolutely huge. To put that into perspective, a normal superbike only requires around about 20 litres of air per second, normally aspirated superbike. So absolutely sucks in air all the time, and that is to feed this, the Supercharger. So the air, as you're moving forward, gets sucked in there, and it is funneled along here, and it then is transferred over to the other side where it enters the Supercharger. The compressor blades of the Supercharger compress the air down, making it much more dense before it's piped into the cylinders for combustion, leading to a bigger combustion once it's added to the spark. Bigger flame, bigger fire, more energy, and therefore more performance. Yeah, so that's the front fairing. The paint job, some of the more eagle-eyed among you will realise that this has a gloss look to the paint, as you can see, but the 2019 Carbon has a matte finish. Well, this does actually have a matte finish, but I've applied paint protection film. You can see me there. I've applied paint protection film, so you can see the matte in this cut out section where they've cut around the logo, and also here you can see it around the Ninja logo as well. We did try to put a matte film on it, but it just did not work whatsoever. Really dulled it all down and it looked very bad. So we tried a gloss film, and it brought it back to this mirror finish that you can see. The reason why I put paint protection film on, I mean, my Thruston TFC has a very special paint job of its own, so I put had paint protection film put on that. But this in particular, I really wanted to get paint protection film on because it would be extraordinarily expensive to have replaced or repaired if it were to get scratched or damaged in any way. You wouldn't just be able to call out your local chips away guy or girl to buff it out for you. It would require a whole new part that has been treated and painted using a very, very special process. It's a 5-stage process. The first stage is a primer stage. So you've got the raw material, which is rough and has imperfections, and you apply a primer to it and sand it down to make a perfectly clean layer. After that, you do a base coat. And then they add what they call an AG layer. So AG is actually a chemical compound. In the periodic table of elements, AG stands for silver. Yes, so they use real silver and they chemically connect it to the bodywork. So this is real silver, giving it that very, very striking look. Once they've applied the real silver, they add a clear coat to protect it, and then they add a UV coat. So extraordinarily complex paint job, and one that you just cannot recreate on your own or very easily. Cool, so that's the paint. In terms of the engine, it's a 1000 cc engine, pretty much, 998, and it's supercharged. So not a naturally aspirated engine, it's supercharged, and it generates 235 horsepower, which is an absolutely gigantic figure. The figure is further increased using ram air. So what is ram air? Well, when the motorbike is moving forward at speed, more air enters the inlet and is funneled round to the supercharger and added into the mix with the fuel in the combustion chamber to give it that extra 5 horsepower. Some more power is derived from the exhaust system, helping it breathe a little bit better, or exhale a little bit better, I should say. So what I've got here is the Akrapovic exhaust system. It's the full system, so it's got the carbon fibre slip-on connected to the titanium exhaust headers. In total, a significant weight saving of around about 11 kilograms, which is huge on just an exhaust system. And just to show you the original slip-on, it's here, minus the heat shield, but believe me when I tell you, that weighs a lot. 7.7 kilograms to be precise, whereas this one, just the slip-on, weighs just 2.3 kilograms. So big weight savings. There's also a power increase as well. So with the full system, you've got a 4 horsepower gain. Well, near as makes no difference, 4 horsepower gain. And you've also got a 4 Newton meter gain in the torque figures. So lots of reasons to get the Akrapovic, with only one reason not to, which is the price point at approximately £5,000 as an upgrade. But it is certainly worth it, believe me, if you can do it. In terms of componentry, So we've got best of the best Brembo Stylema calipers, 4-piston calipers on the front with a Brembo cylinder, and in fact twin discs at the front. We've also got a Brembo setup at the rear with a single disc on the left-hand side. Stylistically, there is a new change for 2019, which has carried through to 2020 and 2021, which is the pinstriping, the green pinstriping on the insides of the wheels, which I think is an excellent addition and really improves the aesthetics of the bike. I've stuck with the original wheels. You can get carbon wheels as well, aftermarket I believe, but apart from the fact that they're extraordinarily expensive, I just think that these wheels at the back and the front look absolutely brilliant, and the styling of them is just perfect. I wouldn't want to switch that up at all. Trellis frame. It's got a trellis frame, so it's a lot of power for a trellis frame, but they have used a welding technique, a very special welding technique apparently, that does very clean welds, and they are pretty nice and very rigid, so lots of strength in that frame. And what you don't realise, or what you may not be able to see, hopefully you will if I go in close enough, you might lose some focus, but it's done in this beautiful metallic green paint. Also as well, this is a part that people tend to swap out quite a lot for carbon fibre. It's that tube that funnels air through to the engine from the intake at the front. But again, that's got a beautiful metallic finish to it as well, so I would never get rid of that. Very nice finish. The cockpit, it hasn't changed very much from the 2015 one, apart from the fact that it's got the TFT display up there as well, which I think is really nice. I equally think that the analog displays on the earlier models are absolutely fantastic as well. I do like an analog display, but this does have an analog section, but it's backed up with the TFT on the right hand side. Interesting thing about this is it's got the boost gauge, so as you pull back on the throttle, you'll see that boost gauge indicating higher levels of boost. Round to the back while I'm here, full LED lighting system, that's on the back, and we've also got full LED lighting system on the front as well. Try and get the yes, the main beam doesn't come on unless the engine is on, but full LED lighting system. But yeah, the boost gauge leads me on to the Supercharger, which is what this bike is really famed for, and what creates that performance, that quintessential Ninja H2 performance that it is renowned for. The Supercharger, centrifugal Supercharger, and Kawasaki developed it in-house, which is just incredible really. Most other motorbike companies, if they wanted anything of the kind, you know, a turbocharger or a supercharger or whatever, they go out to external partners and get them to do it for them. But as this was an exercise in what Kawasaki can achieve, Kawasaki decided to let their aerospace division come up with one. They actually came up with 32 different impeller designs and settled on number 27, which is this one. Very theatrical riding a Ninja H2, and one of the most theatrical things about it is the sound of that impeller spinning around. As you can see, the bike, it revs all the way up to 16,000 RPM at the end of the red line, but 14,000 is the start of the red line, and it's got a 10-to-1 ratio between the crankshaft and the impeller. So the centrifugal supercharger here actually spins at 140,000 RPM, meaning that the blade tips break the speed of sound. So people say that it is the noise that you're hearing, the chirping noise that people often refer to it as, is the supercharger impeller blades at the tips breaking the sound barrier. Other people say that it's just blowback through the supercharger, but whatever it is, it sounds incredible. Price point. Well, normal H2s of the model year, approximately £26,000, so it's not a cheap bike by any means. And you can add a few £1,000s on as well, bringing it closer to the 30k mark, at least here in the UK, if you go for a carbon variant as well. Extremely expensive, and then of course if you want to get add-ons like the Akrapovic exhaust system and things like this, you're going to be digging deeper into your wallet. So it isn't cheap, but that may be one of the reasons why you don't tend to see them a lot. I don't think I've ever seen another Ninja H2. I've seen Ninja H2 SEs and all that sort of thing, but I've never seen another Ninja H2 out on the road, strangely enough. So yeah, even the non-carbon variants are extraordinarily rare. Seating position, well, it's very much a racy position. So you've got very high heel guards there, and foot pegs there with the heel guards behind, leading to quite an acute angle for your knees. So you can see the line of the tank going along here. Your knees do fit into there, but they come straight back, straight back down to the foot pegs. So if you add in all your gear, your full leathers and everything else, which you should be using if you're riding a bike like this, it can be quite a sporty position, quite difficult if you're not so mobile. What have we got up the front here? Lots of Olin stuff. We've got a Olin steering damper. We've also got suspension, a very high caliber of suspension here, where you can adjust the preload, the tension, the compression on both sides. In terms of electronics, well, we've seen that we've got the TFT display, which has a high degree of functionality. You can see a gear indicator here, the ODO. I'm at about just shy of 4,000 miles. These acronyms here, I don't know if you can see them very well, but we got KEBC, that's Kawasaki engine braking control. So you can select different levels of engine braking. We've got a KQS, which is a Kawasaki quick shifter, which is both up and down and works very, very well in the higher speed ranges. Around town, in the lower speed range, RPM ranges, it's a little bit more temperamental. Kawasaki traction control, KTRC. I've got it set on level 9 just because we've had some very snowy weather around. I've not been out in the snow, but you know, it's been very wet and slippy. It's a 9-stage traction control all the way from 0 to 9, so very, very high selectability there. We've also got a Kawasaki launch control. So this bike can be launched with 3 different levels, and I think it's 1 is the least insane, and 3 is the most insane, in that allow the engine to give you more and more beans as you go up the numbers. But I may have that wrong. It may be the other way around. What else? What else? 6-speed transmission. 6-speed gearbox, sequential obviously, as you would expect. Once you're doing the launch control, the gears will be looked after all the way up until 3rd gear, so it will actually change the gears automatically for you all the way up till 3rd gear, and then that's you off on your own from that point. So a very, very clever system, and it's really because you don't want to be messing with anything. You just want to be holding on when you're accelerating in those super low gears. The bike does actually have a limiter of sorts. It's not a generic speed limiter, but the throttle bodies begin to close slightly in the upper rev ranges, which denies the bike the air that it needs for combustion to reach its full potential. Some people flash the ECU. So the ECU is a Mitsubishi ECU. It's underneath this front cowling, and it's very difficult to get off apparently. On the EU and UK models, it's also secured quite tightly in with tamper-proof bolts. So a big job to retune this or flash the ECU. But flashing the ECU allows these to remain fully open while increasing which increases its peak performance. So in those upper rev ranges, the ECU sort of inhibits the engine a little bit and doesn't give you absolutely everything. So that's how people get a little bit more performance out of these bikes. But the issue with that is it does make the bikes in the lower gears very, very twitchy. Beautiful single-sided swing arm. This is an aftermarket piece of carbon fibre, which I have added, and I do obviously have all the pieces, the original pieces that I swapped off the bike, because being a limited edition bike, you don't want to be in a position where you can't restore it back to normal. It does come with a very overdrawn, overblown tail section where it houses a number plate at the end. Reason being is because the law states that a manufacturer has to have the number plate aft of the rear wheel. But this is a Evotech tail tidy system, which just gives it a much cleaner look, and this combined with the Akrapovic exhaust, in other words removing that and the original tail section, gives it a much more aggressive and clean look. Well, everybody, that's pretty much what I've got for the Kawasaki Ninja H2 Carbon. I hope you found that interesting. I think it's an absolutely fantastic bike. The performance is incredible. 2.6 seconds to 60. I mean, who can beat that? Thank you for watching. I will be back next Wednesday with another video. And until then, stay safe, ride safe, and I hope to see you back out on the road, back here in the garage and on the bike channel very soon. Thank you.